I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider approval of minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Terry, second by Bill, to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Missile.
A couple weeks ago, I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago, I was talking to Carla, and then I talked to Terry in regards to the old law enforcement building over here. And we just needed to have some input on what to do with it. I mean, my thought, there's no reason to be insuring it. We've had it insured for around $2 million. We all know, is it worth anything? I mean, is it a liability?
Maybe a negative.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point. I don't, insurance runs about $135, $1,000 approximately. When I was talking to Terry on the phone, my thought is, even if we keep it if something catastrophic happened, but short of I don't know what could happen to it that would destroy it at this point. I mean,
it's block and plaster.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. From a personal standpoint, I don't even want to tell you what, I would do with it, but if it was mine, or probably any one of yours, you'd probably take coverage off.
Just a little liability insurance.
Yeah, and liability is there. I talked to Andy in regards to the tower is still over there. There's still a small shed housing some electronic equipment. And he said the valuing of that would be $300 to $350. So we will keep some value over there on those structures in case something would happen to those. But in my opinion, I can't see you spending 50 cents on the building to insure, because you're probably going to end up having to either pay somebody to tear it down or tear it down yourself. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I thought even that's my thought on it. I don't care what you do; it doesn't make any difference to me. But I just don't see that you'd want to spend money on that type of thing, because there's really, I've gone through a bunch of scenarios, and if the gas is shut off, I don't think you could burn it down if you tried. Blowing it up would be about the only thing you could do, and that would not be easy either, to be honest with you. So, I'm not trying to tell you, I just don't know how you destroy it this time of year. You're not going to have a tornado, and a tornado probably wouldn't destroy it.
Just go through a lot of years of weather. So.
Yeah, that's my thought. So, I was looking for some input on that.
Is there still an interested buyer?
Yeah, I guess I had mentioned to him that maybe we should just bring, if we're going to still carry a policy on it or something, bring it down to the 30 to 50,000 or something. But do we need any kind of policy?
Well, unless that buyer comes through, it's like Bill said, it's a negative value.
So should I
drop it? Property casualty, in my opinion.
Yep. Okay. I can do that. That's not a problem. That's what I would do if it's me. Because the thing, like I said, there's not much left to insure, unfortunately.
And keep what kind of value on the tower and electronics and generator.
Is there separate billing for that?
For
right now, the tower and that, is there any separate billing for that?
It'll be the same location. It'll be basically, it'll stay at this location, location 22.
No, but right now, are they separated out? Is the tower separate, the building separate, or are they together?
The building is in there, but the tower will be falling under the building itself.
We may have to look at it in our budget, the 911 commission may have to have their budget to pay for the
Okay,
Sure.
but it will be, I mean, the only thing that will be on there now will be for the building, so basically at that one point, the 911 commission should pay for that location. Is what I would do if from a budgeting standpoint, because anything on there would be for 911, it's gonna be the tower, and the building that the electronics are located.
They're gonna be paying for their own electricity now.
Okay, that's gonna be separately metered then too.
Well, it'd be the only meter at this point.
Yeah, they'll just read that meter, so, yeah, so basically at that point, once we get that building off there, anything at that location could, and we can separate that out for you too, but that should be billed to 911.
Sounds good.
What do we have for liability on that?
That would basically be the same as, you've got 2 million underlying with a $1 million umbrella. And that won't change, that's still a county location, and any county location that you have has that same coverage, and any new locations would have that same liability coverage, so.
We better put that into motion. Drop the,
Okay, we can do that. There was something else we had discussed, and I can't remember what it was we could talk about today. So when we were talking on the phone, is there another item we're looking at?
yes.
I've got cyber liability I was gonna talk to you about, I don't know, did we discuss
Yeah,
that?
we can make a motion on this now. I'll make a motion to, drop the comp coverage on the, old public safety center and just have a liability policy on it, except for the 911 tower building.
I'll second it. Any motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to, drop the, property casualty on the old law enforcement building, with the exception of the tower, building for electronics, the generator.
Right.
Generator. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Then, Eric had talked to me too in regards to cyber liability.
Right.
If you turn to the next page, in the case of actual cyber liability, if something happened, like if you, say failed to, as you go down to definitions, failed to control the access to your computer, these types of things, if the county is technically liable for cyber liability, you have the same limits of liability as you have under your current policy. You've got $2 million for damages with another $1 million umbrella. So you've got a $3 million coverage on there. So actual cyber liability is, that would be if you were negligent and not, if Eric was doing something that basically accessed it and created some issues. Go to the next page. One of the big things they talk about is cyber breach. If somebody breached into your system, you have $250,000 on that. This would be an outside source of a breach into your system. It's nothing that you've done. Basically, it's a criminal that sneaks into your system and steals your data. And you could be doing everything right, but they're...
Does it include holding you hostage?
I would assume, yeah, basically that would be part of your breach. And what they have at that point is you've got $250,000 worth of coverage on that. Quite often on a breach situation, if you look down on, one of the things, it says we cover, under cyber breach expense, it says we cover a cyber breach event arising out of your covered operations to respond to adverse or unfavorable publicity or media attention. If all of a sudden you found 6 months down the road that you had a leak, and they come on and says, well, the county had a leak of data, what you may need to do is send out a form to everybody saying that your data was leaked. You may have some type of watch your credit scores and this type of thing. Like I was talking to the company on this, they said, probably with all the big leaks that are out there, quite often if you found that your credit was getting compromised someplace along the line, any one of us probably have numerous areas where our information has been leaked already. We just probably don't even know about it. Because with, I don't know, Equifax. I mean, when Equifax loses 145 million pieces of data from individuals, who knows I think we probably all, at one time or another, had our credit scores checked with Equifax. So probably our data is out there with a lot of other people already. But if something came out that you actually had a cyber breach and they could pin it down and say it was breached at the courthouse level, you've got $250,000 to figure out how to address that situation.
What's the standard for the liability there?
This is the standard. This is all we can get. Yeah,
That's all we can get?
Yep. Polk County would have the same thing. This is all that we can get through the program. But this is not liability. This is just basically a breach. This is a non-liability coverage. If they come back and find that the county's liable at that point, Mike, then it falls under your $3 million worth of liability. See, a breach you're not really liable for. A breach is where somebody, it's a criminal act coming into your situation. And so at that point, in those types of situations, I'm sure and I'm not that well versed on this type of situation. I've never been involved in a cyber liability claim. But in a cyber event, it's a criminal that comes in and takes your stuff. And so you technically aren't really liable for that. But the $250,000 is a goodwill payment that you'll make to the people telling them that, yeah, we got breached somehow. If you are liable, if you've done something to actually contribute to it, then you do have $3 million worth of coverage.
What if they sue us for $500,000? We're not liable, but they still sue us for $500,000.
Well, if they sue you, they'd be at that point they'd be saying you're liable.
Okay.
Yeah, if they actually bring you to suit, they're going to be saying, well, we feel you're liable. At that point, then it would fall under the $3 million. So from the standpoint, it's kind of, if you go back to simplify the thing, you look at, we all have personal auto coverage. In most cases, we have medical payments under our personal auto coverage. That's a non-liability coverage under your policy. If you have somebody in your car and they get hurt, let's say you slam on your brakes because a little child is walking in front of you in the street corner, you slam on your brakes, your passenger hurts their knee. Okay, at that point, you've done everything right. You've saved the child, you haven't created an accident, you've been a good conscientious driver, but your passenger's hurt. Okay, he comes out and says, okay, I've got a knee issue. Your MedPay pays that regardless. It's a goodwill payment right off the top. If for some reason he says, well, I think he was liable, he was going too fast before he slammed on the brakes, and sues you, then it falls under your bodily injury portion of your personal auto. Then it becomes a liability situation versus a goodwill situation. And that's what we're dealing with here. The cyber expense coverage more or less is you were breached, it was a criminal act against the county, you're not at fault, but as part of the process, you can send out letters to everybody telling them they were breached. This is what, you give them the option of saying, you should probably check with, I'm not going to say Equifax because you could be breached again, but just check with your credit scoring, make sure somebody isn't messing around with your credit at that point. And that's a goodwill payment. That's part of what this covers. If the county comes back and is liable, okay, at that point, then it falls under your liability.
Most they can get is $250,000 in breach.
Pardon?
Most anyone can get is $250,000 in a breach. Is that
in a breach, but at that point, like I said, that should cover you contacting all your people. You can put it on the radio that you were breached. That should cover most of your media expenses and this type of thing. That
this basically fixes the problem.
Yeah.
It covers the.
It doesn't cover anybody's damage that comes from that.
No, and in a breach, you wouldn't be liable for their damage. Yeah.
Someone else did it.
Right. I mean, it'd be like if somebody walked into your house, stole a gun, goes out and kills somebody. And that's a pretty sick scenario. But they do, and they find your gun at the scene of the crime, and it happened Sunday morning, and you were in church, and you say, I had nothing to do with it. They came in, you can't be liable for that situation. They steal your car, go out and hit somebody. You can't be liable for that situation because it's a criminal act towards you.
But so we had left that gun on the driveway, made it accessible to them. That's when our
liability would kick in.
That's when our $3 million would kick in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. it becomes a fine line, is what it does. And you know, and to be honest with you, in the case of a breach, where they come in and if just almost in any case scenario in the county, if somebody sues you, then at that point your liability kicks in and will defend. That's the first thing it'll do. And at that point, they might determine that you're not liable in the first place. They might say this is a non-liability issue, but we are obligated to defend under the policy. And that's pretty much the way standard insurance works. In the case where I come back and sue any one of you folks, at this point I'm saying you're liable for my damages. But if we get into a situation where I say, well, I was damaged by a criminal act, but you know they were at your place first, well, you're not really liable at that point. And if I come back and sue you and say, yeah, they got something from your place and created a criminal act, they took the crowbar out of your garage and busted into my house, well, you're not liable for leaving the crowbar in your garage. So in the case, you can almost figure if the county gets sued, it falls under the liability portion. The cyber breach comes out is almost like it's almost like a med pay and a car policy. They'll pay it to establish goodwill and this type of thing. And this is, they've tried to raise that limit, because I know there's a lot bigger entities that are involved in this at this point, but this is the limit that the ICAP has right now, and I don't know that it's ever been reached, because in the case of a breach, and I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know if any of the bigger communities or cities have been breached. You don't hear, I haven't heard of it.
Well, I mean, Saragordo had an incident a couple of years ago, and it maybe wasn't truly a breach, but you know that becomes an issue of how do you define that.
Right.
And I was going to ask a question, if I may.
Yeah.
So the $250,000 will go to help, you know, whatever notification we may be responsible for. Will any of it help fix the problem? So, you know, while they were stealing the crowbar out of the garage, they busted out a window and broke a door. Will it help fix that broken window and door on the computer with that $250,000, or is that not part of that?
Well, it would depend on if it was actually a damage situation. You know, and there again, you'd have the damage, the broken door would be paid for if there is a broken door. If they walked into your garage and grabbed that, it would not have been. You know, if somebody comes, if it's an insurable loss to your equipment, they came in and smashed your equipment after they stole the stuff, yeah, then there'd be coverage for that type of thing. And basically, and that you have that, that's good, because you can read through these, you know more about that than I do. And look that over, and because I sit here and when you talk about storage in the cloud and this type of thing, we get our stuff from WCTA, and they were in there and I says, where's the cloud? You know, and where's the cloud, Eric?
It's anywhere that's not here.
Yeah, where's my stuff? Is the thing, you know, and it's, I don't know where it is. They don't know where it is. And I said, well, can I get it back if I need it? And they said, well, we think so. You know, that's real reassuring. So, you know, and can you get if all your data is lost, can you get it all back?
If it all works how it's supposed to.
If it all, so I mean, but and I'm glad you're here, because you can look over,
Yep.
And that's.
Can I keep this?
Yes, that's why I brought that for you.
I'll read through it.
Yeah, and it talks about, back here, there's some data processing equipment types of things. And under the policy, there's $25,000 to fix a virus. If you get a virus in here that you struggle to get through. There's some loss of earnings. If there's $100,000 built into the policy for loss of earnings, if you have to deal with that type of thing in the process. So they have extra, and they got another $50,000 for extra expense. So there's coverage for data processing. And to be honest with you, you can look through that, digest it. And any questions, get back to me, and then I'll get back to somebody that knows more about it than I do.
Okay. Sounds good.
I still have I still have a flip phone, so I'm not real. I'm a little older than you, Mike, but I'm close enough to retirement that I'm not gonna learn it all at this stage of my life, I can tell you that. Any other questions you might have on that?
Not till I read this.
Okay, yeah.
Like, okay, what's this extra expense mean? That sounds kind of ambiguous.
Well, it is. It's an ambiguous coverage. You've had extra expense.
Okay.
Yeah.
We go over, we got an extra.
Yeah, if you have some extra expense, that's what it is. It's an ambiguous coverage.
Okay.
Kind of like miscellaneous.
Yeah, same type of thing. If you have extra expense, let's say you had to hire somebody else to come in and help you.
Sure.
That'd be an extra expense.
Okay.
Or if you, had to get some other equipment brought in for a short period of time, that's an extra expense. That's all I have.
I think that answers our questions.
You bet. Any other questions, let me know. Just give me a call. I'm available. Can you look that over and?
Yeah, you bet.
You bet.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Scott?
Morning.
See ya.
I don't have much to report today. Of course, our guys are out running routes, gravel and paved routes this morning. That's all I have.
Any questions?
Okay, thanks, Scott. Chris.
This is here. Scratch that. Just tear, I
You
don't
don't
have
have anything to do it for auditor. I mean, it's not drainage.
So we're gonna have to do a table 5, 6, 5 and 6.
Okay.
Well, 9:30, sorry, sitting for what I've done. We move on, I guess.
You sure?
You could take your annual report with you. Semi-annual.
Okay. These are just copies for you guys. And then if this one, if you guys approve it, it just needs to be signed and stamped, please.
Take a motion, you guys are ready.
On that back page, I included that for you to see, because you were questioning about the outstanding. So it takes the July ending balance and our December ending balance, gives you that 14,000, which is the auditor's outstanding here. That's how we get that. And then this here should be our cash count balance.
UR2 fund has a high number in it.
Fund 56,
Yeah, is that,
that's the escrow money.
okay, just because we refinanced?
That's where all the escrow money
We're in that
sits.
stage where until the refinancing was done and started, it's paid off.
Yeah. And then Fund 58 is the tax dollars going in.
What's that?
Fund 58, the UR2 fund, is the tax dollars.
I guess I don't have any more questions. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report.
I'll second it. Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
So there's one that needs to be signed and Carla, do you sign for Carla then, or should we just wait till she docked in tomorrow? And then Bill, do you want to stamp that approved? So do you sign Carla's name by you then as deputy? Mm-hmm. And you're getting the county ledger report every month that I sent you?
Thank you.
No, I'll give you a copy too, Jen. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Motion by
Well, I'm gonna give you the proposed budget, budget proposal, I suppose it is, from photometry. Possibility of having a new flight, contracted 2 flights over the next 6 years. Our first flight that I'm aware of, that we still have copies of, was back in the 60s. Sidwell did it in 1988. Western Aerial Services did it in 2004. That was part of the GIS contract. And then in 2009, we signed up with pictometry. So it was flown in 9, 13, and 16. This contract, if it goes through, would be for the 19 and 22. It's gone down slightly from the last contract that we had. I've got some examples here. If you would like to see them, I can pull it up and show you on.
I think it'd be good to look at. So,
Can I drive, Jane? Hopefully.
you have a license for that?
Yeah, we'll see how this works.
Burner's permit.
I just tried to think of some things that have happened over the years and how it is used, because I want you to understand that. correct? Can't get the function key to work like you said it would.
Do you know where it is?
Do.
I mean, where the document is you're looking for?
Well, I got this going.
Okay.
Maybe I gotta get function now. Well, we'll just work off of here. Hopefully.
Julie, can you turn the lights on? Thanks.
This probably doesn't seem as important to some as it does me. This gentleman right here, there, in 2015, we went to CSR 2s along with a House file that was passed that there's a difference in how you figure assessments versus tillable, non-tillable. So anytime we see a building site, grove, whatever, tore out, I gotta come back and change the GIS and correct the assessment based on its usage. So when we were driving along here, it was a nice visual for us. For some reason, they decided to leave this stretch here. This is all tillable. This is still grove. So we corrected our maps, we corrected our assessments, and actually there was, like, to double check, there was an old gas can that was in there, not a gas barrel, I should say. And we were able to kind of mark up where it was tore out from that, which was kind of neat, but I'm not going to zoom in that close and go through that for you. And of course the new flight would show that as being gone. Now here's Jason Worth's in 16.
See, there's speed couple driveways.
There it is in 9. We can have both 9 and the current split on our screen in this software and scroll along, and they will synchronize with each other, and you can compare and see what's going on. Yeah, maybe.
This is something that you can do or anybody can do that access.
Right, anyone can. Okay, we got our dual pane here, and it's synchronizing now, maybe, no?
Doesn't look very close.
No, it doesn't look close at all, does it? It's supposed to. Now, why it's not on here for me, I don't know. Unless I gotta do research again, maybe, and sorry, I'm not doing very good with this now. Not doing it for me, gentlemen, I don't know. I'll look into why it's not doing it.
Right side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'd see 16 on this side, and
So you have more before and after up there.
yeah, and so you can just scroll along and see, if you're missing, because I mean, we all know they're just ripping these building sites out left and right. And it's amazing when you're driving down the road, if that building site's there, you remember it, but all of a sudden, if it's all tillable, you go, I mean, it doesn't really, you don't think about it unless you're really familiar with the area.
Well, for sure that it was there, you would never remember it.
Yeah, maybe on my mouth. Okay, we were driving along this year, and now there's I didn't pull the size of it, but anyway, there's a huge Morton building going up here. So of course I pulled it up when I get back in the office, and I think, okay, now I gotta take this building off and put the new one on. So you can see how it fits on the property, you can see what was there before, and you can correct your records because they want the old building off more than they want the new building put on, obviously. So just another way of having our records correct. You guys will know exactly where we're going with this one. Okay. All right, we're at John Ofdahl's property. And but we could turn on I've been working with Chris. If we go back to 2009, that's how it looked before, right? Well, not only does it affect our assessments and the drainage, but we have to correct the lines and get that all correct so the maps are right. Well, if we go back into 13, he'd been working on it. 16, it's done.
Is there a value to file for the assessment?
No.
It makes a difference when you have an open ditch,
It subtracts out for the ditch because, yeah.
Now you can farm all the way across the street.
Yeah, so now I change this. I can take away the non-crop again, and I reprocess it for assessment purposes.
So anytime we give somebody permission to do what he did, we're gaining more taxable acres.
Mm-hmm.
But it still doesn't increase our tax.
On land it
Just
does.
to lose
It's
it.
the buildings that mess with the ag formula.
If
Because if you add value to buildings, it takes away from the land.
You, right,
Yeah.
but when you put a new barn building up on a park place, do you have to do the building permit?
Oh, eggs all exempt.
So,
No, eggs all exempt. This is a situation where, whoa, wrong way. This is Darla Hasbrook's property. Of course, instead of doing surveys all the time, they used to, I own north of the ditch, you own south of the ditch. When this property transferred, I was like, this wasn't making sense what's going on, so I did some research and went back in time. Well, this drainage ditch used to go this way. So all of a sudden, this person now owns this if they're using that legal description. So I contacted the Hasbrooks and the attorney and said, explained what was going on. Well, it caused a lot of extra paperwork and they got it corrected, but there's a lot of that in our county that they've done that.
So the wrong person could have been paying taxes on that property.
Well, they don't own what they don't, what they think they own. I mean, they've been farming this, but they don't actually own it. So they basically had to do a swap of land because of it. So drainage can affect, it's just chain reaction on multiple things. Operator error. Okay, this is west of Forest City. Evans property. I was talking to Chris last week, we were working together. This drainage district, or drainage main ditch, crossed up along through, there's no ditch there. Well, I keep going on though. There was an open ditch on our drainage map that went clear across here. Well, you can see it doesn't. So before, I think we're finding a lot of errors on our drainage maps.
So it's a tile instead of an open ditch.
Yeah. And, Chris was gonna talk to Mark, and then when they get it figured out, they'll come down and talk to me again. But she's finding a lot of what is open wasn't marked correctly and so on and so forth. Well, a visual just is amazing. And since you guys have seen some time with Mr. Martinson lately, he stopped down and talked to me. I apologize, I do that all the time. Went by his place, and I use it as an example for him. There's 16. And there's 13. There's a new building here. One thing, the farm, when we're doing the county roads, so as in the fall, farmers are very busy. So we try not to bother them if we don't have to. They got other things on their mind, they don't want to talk to us. So I come back, I know it's a new building, but we can double check, make sure, contact them. And it's been really working nicely for us, and at the same time, we don't have to inconvenience the farmer. I go up across the road to Gary Peterson's. This building here, 2013, we were driving along, and I thought, something doesn't seem right. Well, you can see how it just kind of goes along the south side of his lagoon there. It's a lot longer now. It's an awesome tool for us, because I said, well, make a note of that, we'll check it out when we get in the office. If we have to go back up there, we do. But it helps us keep our, you don't want to go on and measure a building and then be wrong and make the taxpayer upset with you that you don't know what you're doing. So it's a...
But this all has to be done visually. The software doesn't automatically tell you there's an increase in size of the building or...
Well, you could pay to have them do it, but...
You did that once.
We did that once, and what I chose for, because even if you go back, okay, this is another thing that I wanted to show you.
What's the change finder program?
What we got is better photography out in the rural rather than doing the change finder, because I didn't think it brought us that much benefit. So if you look at...
So when you go through this, you go through the previous flight and then the next flight.
So yeah, there's the 9. So then in the 16, I think you can... Well, maybe not on this screen, but you can on mine. So if I can see that line right there, he had it on 64 feet of the building. If I wanted to do the, say all of a sudden, like that one that I said there's a new machine shed there, and this bin is gone, I have a list of bins on my cards. I have to decide which bin is off, right? So I can measure the height and the diameter of this bin and figure it off my card on which one needs to go off in the place of the new one. So I mean, we just use it constantly. 64, and then you go from the top shot, and you get the diameter that you can't see. Let's see, what was the other one that, the last one that I was just going to, get rid of that tool. This is a parcel that is, it's not showing up near as good on this screen as it should, but it's in litigation right now with Adam. I don't want to say any names, I guess, but between surveys and the GI.
Church?
Pardon?
North of the church.
Yes.
Okay.
Did some of the conservation minutes. So it's public.
Okay. Adam was down and we printed these off, and between surveys and everything that we've gotten, he's using this as part of his case, I guess. There, I guess, in essence, here's all our layers that are imported from our GIS. And I'm not very good with this mouse out here, so. So there is a bunch of information. You want to see the drainage lines, which I should have had those on earlier. Chris and I have worked to get all the open ditches with the dotted and the other solid. I guess I just personally feel like it's a very important tool and a lot of history that goes down in.
Is that blue line on that one?
That blue line is a parcel.
No, that
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but you know, like I said, if all of a sudden your drainage map says this is an open ditch, and they're tilling it, you know, so there are a lot of things, and everything changes. We don't think that things change as much, but there are a bunch of them, you know, like you have this back. So I guess if you want me to, I guess I'd like to give you time to think about it.
Julie. Thank you.
Give you time to consider it, and if you are for it, I'd like to see it continue on, I guess, for the county. If that was the case, then I would contact Pictometry, obviously, and have them draw up the contract. This year, I realize, this is, of course, for future budget, not this year.
But we pay it.
Yep, we pay it every year. I do realize that there's a shortfall this year. And I looked over my budget for the upcoming budget. Of course, I would ask you gentlemen to do what you've been doing, and I would budget what I've been doing in mine. But this year, because of the shortfall, I do have it in my budget that if it would help out, I could pay the county share instead of the assessor's share this year for you. We just,
Yeah.
pardon me?
See that again.
I've got it split out on, let's see, this is the new one, on the old sheet, the second sheet, excuse me. This is, no, these two amounts are what will be coming up prior to July or June 30th of 18, okay?
That's already been approved.
Yeah, but I could cover this.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all coming out the same.
I know it. I guess I'm offering if it'll help in your guys' situation, because, you know. So if that's good, like I said, I'll give you, maybe I can get on the agenda for next week and then give you time to think about it. And
Well, my opinion is go ahead.
I think it's valuable.
So, where does the imagery and beacon come from?
Pictometry. The software that I'm using is only for anyone, a taxing entity. I give rights to the cities, anyone in the courthouse, of course. Then in the beacon, you only have this straight down, but there is a little icon up there that you can click on the pictometry, but you don't have the tools, you don't have as much as what we got here.
But you still have the dated imagery
Yep.
in there, and
We've got 2 years out there now. You can have more, but since it's such large files, it costs more for the hosting of our webpage. And I guess I didn't ask anyone else, but I just thought I didn't think it.
But do you have access to the others?
Yes, anyone that has a Connect has everything.
Oh, okay.
But,
So under my connect, I can go in and see that.
Yep. Yep, you can go back and see any of them, and it's just the public, and it's, I don't mean it just the public, but, I guess I didn't know if people would use it enough to justify an additional cost for the county for
So
having.
Where is the older files being stored? Is it on pictometry or is it on our server?
Well, we have, part of we get a hard drive, and I've handed those over to Eric. And then he puts them on the server, and then through the web hosting of Beacon, they are backed up through Beacon every night. So we've got 3 different backups.
When you would do adjustments like, say the opted-all adjustment, that's all done on current, the most current pictures then that you're working with?
Yeah, I'm working, on 13.
So if you go back to 09, you're not going to have some of those like drainage adjustments or anything like that.
And, really, I don't ever know about them until Chris comes. I asked about the Evans, and she said that there's still stuff pending on that. But I'm not in the loop that much about the drainage, I guess. So would,
Over.
Yeah, might as well drop a contract.
okay, awesome. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. On 9:10, discussion, early retirement.
This is what she sent. Oh, you got one?
This is what you had sent me this morning.
And this is the one that she had in the file.
So this is for this year only. It would, we have to have received their application for early retirement by February 28th. And they have to retire no later than May 30th, 18th. Oh no, the one she sent yesterday had an E on the eligibility, or the other day. It's changed since.
Like this one? Yeah. This is the one she had in the file. And she's not even going to print this
So
other
do
one off.
elected, I don't see, do elected officials qualify for this then?
No. C, definition of jobs.
Okay, always moved in.
This one valid is this one.
You got this on the bottom of the email. It's at the office.
Oh.
think because of our challenges in the budget, I think this is probably a good thing to offer. Allow them a chance to get out early if they so choose. This is voluntary only.
assuming that happens because
I think he had looked at the previous version. Went through my gallery as well.
Mike, could you kind of summarize what is in that contract?
it's just an offer to, I'll go through eligibility here. If you want, and this is just a one-time offer per person right now. In no way holds us to making this offer to anybody else, but a regular full-time employee is eligible for early retirement if the employee has reached 55 at the actual age of retirement, has worked a minimum of 15 continuous years for Winnebago County, and has been actively employed during the current fiscal year prior to early retirement. Retires effective not later than May 30th, 2018, has not received a notice concerning termination for employees' employment for cause. So you got to be in good standing. It's just a employee in a certain office who's made known they might want to retire.
There may be more.
How does it differ from regularly retiring?
I know your
What's
policy.
the benefit to the employee?
Well, the benefit is there's not going to be a rehire in that office. So there will be going away of wages. So the only liability of the county would be the 16 months of health insurance.
Okay, that's the part.
Yeah, that's the benefit.
16 months of health insurance.
In this particular case, it's a big range, but it'll save us anywhere from 45 to, I don't know, 60,000 a year. Well, I guess not. There's no insurance for that.
Yeah, for a single family policy or a single policy, health insurance, just to remain on the county's health insurance.
Well, that's what's going on, is
It
it?
says in there if you currently have family insurance, I think the old one did anyway, that you would be able to keep the family insurance, but I don't know if you're paying the family part of it. I think it's just whatever you would pay. In the same form, example, single employee, children, or family aren't subscribed to.
They'll be entitled 7B, if they're approved for early retirement, receive 16 months of fully paid health insurance coverage. And that will have to look at, not fully, we'll stick with our percentage. Paid health insurance coverage for supplemental health insurance, and in addition to that, which the employee may otherwise be entitled.
If you look at C, that kind of covers what you're talking about. Shall not limit the county's ability to change the terms of its existing health.
That's the plan, though, that's for everybody. The employee that is going to be, that would take advantage of, will get full paid health insurance. We gotta check that.
Well, 16 months basically would get you to the end of the 19 fiscal year, or just barely over. So, I don't know what we end up doing in this budget year.
I think we better take a listen at that and go through this with us.
We discussed the fully paid.
Oh, just discuss it all, No, I don't know for sure, we don't know for sure if Adam's gone through this.
I think it would honestly. I know he had looked at some, that's why he talked about, like you said, the other thing.
Yeah, I know you looked at
Yes,
this.
I thought that they together would come up with this.
Okay.
I'm not positive on that, but that's just what I was assuming. What I seem to remember.
Now, did Carla say
She
would,
wants you to call her when you do this number 9.
maybe we should call her now? And
Let's take care of,
if Adams, ask her if Adams has looked at this version.
Let's take care of number 13 first.
Public hearing, no, we need to table this one.
You can table it?
It's supposed to be next week.
Oh, okay.
It's in the paper for the 22nd.
Very good.
And when I looked at it, saw it on the agenda yesterday, I called because I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be the 23rd. Because there are some people that are going to want to come. So.
Okay, very good. All right.
Sell them.
Call Michelle, yeah.
Okay, so call out,
9?
push, well, yeah, the line.
Mark 9 first, right?
Oh, don't have to do this.
We trying to call?
It's not Ghostbusters.
Don't just make it simple.
Can I help you, or you wanna do it? Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. Carla Weiss is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options. To leave a callback number, press 5.
Hi, Carl. This is Supervisors. We had a couple agenda items we wanted to have you involved in. If you can give us a call back, give us something you can. 6-4, you know the number. Call us as soon as you can. Thank you.
Consider for approval, we'll move on to 11. Consider for approval liquor license for Super Bowl. Make a motion to approve the liquor license for Super Bowl Incorporated.
I'll second it.
Excuse me. Motion made by Mike, seconded by Terry to approve the liquor license for Super Bowl Incorporated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so do I push up here then?
Hello?
Hey, I got Carla on the phone here. Do you want me to patch her in?
Yeah.
Okay, here she comes.
Hello?
Hi, Carla. We're on the RFP for insurance. Then we also have
Okay.
a little discussion on the retirement contract after that. But
Okay. Well, the reason I put this back on the agenda is that everyone who's expressed interest in the RFP have all said, basically, we're not sure why you're doing this way. When more than one broker goes to the insurance company, they all get the same bid. They said if you pick one broker and have them go and negotiate, then you can get a better rate. When you have everybody get a rate, they all get the same rate.
But if we don't have two brokers competing against each other, I guess I'm not quite sure how we would choose a broker. Broker agent.
Well, I think they would, I mean, there's,
You'd have to pick your broker first and then go off the quotes. Get a broker that is gonna charge the least percent or however they do it. And then go from there to get quotes from that.
I mean, basically, the RFP would be, you know, your experience, how many people would work on this account, you know, all those questions that we had on that first RFP, and then pick somebody, and then I'm just saying that the insurance companies are telling me, I mean, I've had 4 of them, plus one of them had another auditor call me and say, why are you doing this way? So, I mean, it's up to you guys, but they're all questioning what we're doing.
Doesn't seem like we're gaining a lot if they're all getting the same quote. It's gonna come back to the broker anyway. So I think that the RFP for the broker first would be the way to go.
That's what all the insurance companies are saying that we should, or all the brokers are saying that we should do.
Who have you talked to?
I have talked to a guy from Decorah. I think it's G&R Benefits or something like that. Cottingham and Butler. not remembering off the top of my head. Ben from, Winneshiek called me.
Winneshiek what?
County, the audit over there. But it doesn't matter which insurance company that's bidding it, they're gonna do it the same way, whether it's United or Wellmark, they're all just gonna give the same bid to all the brokers until we get a broker, right?
That's what they're telling me.
Well, if we went with, let's just say we stayed with our present situation, they're not going to be able to go out and bid United Healthcare. So,
And that's one thing we would look at when we're choosing a broker. We would have a choice in that.
Well, and we can still get our bid from IGHCP. We just,
yeah, for Wellmark only.
probably. I don't know. I think that they would bid us other companies if we asked them to.
Well, then we'd be out of the group.
Yeah, we would. Oh, Kyle's the other one from True North.
What do we want to do?
Well, I basically laid out the way that Laura explained it to me. Unless I'm misrepresenting something she said, you know where I stand, so if you guys want to go the other way, that's...
It seems like you have different brokers, I mean, they may get the same quote from Walmart, but it's gonna come down to their percentage anyway. Because they're also on contract with it.
Well, it needs to be a broker agent, because the agent takes care of us. Now,
And that was,
fees to the agent is set in stone by Wellmark, United Health. They're not gonna be so either.
but the fees to manage,
There shouldn't be any fees to manage our claims. They're all set right in there with,
so you're saying that all the brokers are coming in with the same price?
I don't know, maybe they are gonna want a fee. A fee over the top of their, fees that they get from whatever insurance company they go to. And thus the problem we had with our present one.
But I think an RFP for broker agents would identify that.
Oh, sure, that definitely would identify it, yeah.
If we do that, and then come back to choose our insurance through bids, we'd still accomplish what we were setting up to do.
It seems like to me, no matter which way you go, you're probably have just about the same spot.
Well, if you can identify a good broker agent through that RFP process, then that's great. Yeah.
Talk to people that are using them, get their qualifications. Well,
I'll entertain any motion you guys want.
I want to change the process. How would this work with our timelines, Carl? the change?
Well,
Our next deadline is in February, isn't it?
yeah. I think that they would, I mean, everybody right now is holding off because they knew I was going to talk to you about this today. So nobody's really started a whole lot of anything anyway. But I could send back out, like that southeast poke, change it back for us and send out something similar to that and have them all complete that and get that back to us within a couple of weeks and then go from there.
Now, the Southeast Polk one was the more simplistic one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so. I guess I'd be amenable to that. I'll make a motion to proceed with an RFP for broker agent to determine that first. Would it be the same deadline, Carla?
Let's set a deadline for, I don't have it with me, so what would it be, like 2 weeks out or something like that, so that we can...
Still have time to get the other half of it before the deadline at the end of February.
Yeah.
30th?
Sure.
That's 2 weeks from today. Okay, so my motion would be for due date of the 30th. They all have the other information, so they know what they're trying to do.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion by Terry and seconded by Bill to move forward with the RFP to procure a broker agent for our health insurance with to be settled by the 30th of January 2018. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we're going to early retirement, talking about. Had one question. Has Adam gone through this?
Yes.
The most current one?
On 7B, it says an eligible employee who is approved for early retirement will receive 16 months of fully paid health insurance coverage.
I think we changed that to 12.
Well, the one you sent out the other day was 12.
I think the most current one I sent out was 12.
That's this one. And
The one I printed this morning.
and that one did not say fully paid. It just
did not say what?
It said 12 months of paid health insurance.
What does fully paid mean? 100% of their premium?
Single?
Or what is available to the courthouse employees?
It would be whatever their current plan is would continue for 12 months.
Okay.
So if it was a single plan, it would be fully paid. If it was the family plan, it would continue the way it has been. They would pay their percent.
And that's the current one, Jerry?
This is the one she was talking about.
This is the one I printed off this morning that she sent me.
What's the back of that? Yeah, that has one of the same.
The things that I sent Jane were the releases that go with there should have been a plan, there should have been the insurance thing in the folder, Jane.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that or
one
not.
does say 16 months on it.
It does?
Yeah.
I had changed that to 12.
Okay, well, the one I printed off says 16.
Then on the one that she printed off, there has, under 5, there's crossed out certain things. Is that the current?
I think those are things I was going to ask you. So, we are going to talk about 12, And then what's the other thing that's underlined?
Resignation letter.
There should,
Okay, on the application it says, release of claims and the agreement not to reapply for employment form. This agreement does not prohibit the Board of Supervisors at the request of the department head from offering employment to the employee in the future. And then you crossed out, agreement not to reapply for employment. This agreement does not prohibit, okay, all right. So it's just basically rewording that.
Yeah.
okay.
So then this is the most recent one, not the cross. The most recent one should not have any crosses out, right?
I think the most recent one actually has some pink, like lines under it, because I wanted to make sure that.
That had 16 months and fully in it.
Okay, so I think it should say 12. I think 16 is a little excessive. I think, I'm trying to think of what the other things that were underlined were.
That was it. Just the,
Okay.
Just the agreement for not to
Well,
reemploy.
the difference, the other one said resignation letter.
And it underlined gender identity and sexual orientation. And number 2, that was the one that spread this morning, or the one.
So do we want to just alter the marked up one that we were looking at to just make it 12 months?
Yep. And then I can reprint it and have you guys sign it when I get back.
What about the fully paid? Just cross that out, or?
Yeah, I think so.
It should just say.
So that'd be the only two.
Because it should say in there whatever their current insurance is.
Right.
Get 12 months of their current health insurance coverage.
So it shouldn't say paid, it just says 12 months of their current.
Well, it says it right in the,
Okay.
Yeah, then,
in my opinion. Yeah. It's taken out in the.
yeah, the next one I just printed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
But
reads better.
Page 1 should have had all that stuff. So it's almost like we're using page 2 of one of them and page 1 of the other.
7B spells it out the way I think it should be spelled out, so. Okay, well, we don't have to keep you on the line anymore, so we'll just,
The first page of this one spells it out right, too.
Up here.
yeah, we'll have it ready to sign, or you gotta have it ready to sign for next week, yeah.
Yep. You guys just mark it up and let me know what you want me to change, and I will fix whatever needs fixing. So.
That sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Carla.
You can call me back if you have anything else for me. I'm in between appointments with my mom right now, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, bye.
So do we want to just use page 1 from this and page 2 from the other one?
Basically, the only thing that's left out on the first page of the one that you just printed out would be the gender identity and sexual orientation.
Number 5, A2 is a little different. And 3 is different.
basically kind of says the same thing. Three. Yeah, it's just release of claims form instead of resignation letter.
Unless I'm missing something, I say we just go with this.
The second one that you pointed out,
The one you just, the one I just,
yeah, it looks like it covers it tonight, yeah.
Resignation.
Not easy.
There's two.
We do now.
Resignation request for early retirement and release agreement to not apply for the post. Would be part of it, right?
Well, I think they're past that. Yeah, we can ask. Did you guys talk about number 4 already?
we just gotta put it on hold, because Carla's not here.
Okay.
Chris.
I mean, Chris.
Okay, yeah, this gentleman was asking about it. I'll tell him, you're gonna talk about it next week, probably?
We can, you can come and talk about it.
We're not, meeting's not over, so.
Let's finish this first.
Yeah.
They didn't really discuss it because the lady is sick. But if
The
you-
auditor and the deputy auditor, one's gone with Rochester, the mother, and the drainage clerk is sick, so. But, we can surely visit with you about it.
Just come on in, take a seat, we'll be right with you, okay?
Yep.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the voluntary early retirement plan for this year only, as discussed in our,
As stated.
as stated in this plan.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, second by Willie to approve the early retirement.
Well, you're kind of right.
I knew I was gonna say that because I was thinking it on the last motion.
Was that right?
What is your middle one?
Well, no, my name is William, and some people have called me Willie, usually in.
All right, back to business here. Motion was made by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the early retirement contract as stated in the contract, plus the resignation request for early retirement and the release and agreement not to reapply for employment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried.
I took a lot of grief back in the early '70s when the song Little Willie came out.
Okay. So let's just bump back up to drainage matters. We have a concern.
I was just wondering what you're talking about doing there. I mean,
Oh, on DD 11?
yeah,
They want to do an improvement at the top of the line. It'd be past Bill Shutters, you know, the open ditch ends there. It's the tile that goes farther up, and the reclassification would isolate the expense to just those people.
just so them people going on in.
They're the only ones that will benefit from it, so right now, if we do the improvement, you would probably have to pay downstream. But if we're going to reclassify it, and that'll separate it out so that that tile that goes beyond the ditch, only the people up there that benefit from it would pay for it.
Has it been surveyed or anything that can be done or not, or?
He's still working on that. He's supposed to have a preliminary report.
I thought they done it quite a few years ago, and they said it couldn't be, you know, too flat. It couldn't have been done. That's why I'm surprised they're doing it again. I mean,
Well, that's why, you know, this preliminary report's gonna tell us what we need to know.
Well, if they're gonna do an improvement, they're gonna make it,
Yeah, an improvement would,
it's gonna make it better so they can do it. I suppose just fixing the tile the way it was.
part of the problem out there, a lot of the tile is egg-shaped, and so a repair is needed for sure, but they would rather improve it and give it the volume it needs. That's the way the discussion was when they submitted their
But then it reclassify the whole district then, and that,
Right.
So that, after it's reclassified though, he wouldn't pay for it.
If you don't have any land that is affected upstream, then you wouldn't pay for it. Right now, if they repair that, just repair it, you would be paying if we didn't reclassify it, which isn't fair. And that's the way it's been for years, since it started. That's why we want to reclassify it, make it fair for everyone.
they haven't really come up with any, survey on it or nothing yet then, so.
Well, the engineer's been out there and done some work, because he's got the preliminary report, we just haven't seen it yet. It was supposed to be today, but I don't know if the engineer was gonna be here for that or not. It made it sound like Chris was just gonna discuss it. I don't know.
Yeah, usually they.
It's hard to discuss when she's not here. And
Which engineer doing this?
Westergaard. Should be trying
So how many is in favor of extending that tile up there then? Are they all in favor of it then?
That'll be discussed next week. That's the public hearing for it.
when they were putting together the paperwork, they figured the people standing in this room had enough to keep it from.
Had enough what?
The people that were involved in it had enough to keep it from being a monstrance. So they had the folks standing in this room.
They were against it then?
No, they
were all for it.
They were the ones that filed the paper.
They had enough people here for it that it would go ahead, no matter who else showed up and was against it.
That's gonna be a high price deal though.
But it's gonna benefit their land too. And there's some issues there.
But there again, remember that the ones that are benefiting are the only ones that are paying. Yeah, so that can be confusing.
At the very minimum, you want to get it reclassified to make sure it's fair. Otherwise, if they repair it and you don't reclassify it, you'll be paying for their repair.
But they won't get approved either.
But the way it is, and where I'm at there, it should be reclassified anyway, because a lot of them ain't paying.
Even if it doesn't do an improvement, we're still reclassifying it because it's not fair. So we're doing that for sure.
So you're having another meeting next week, is that the end you see?
Yeah, we'll have to table all of this till next week, because
the
drainage clerk is saying we'll do it instead of
well, it's part of the whole thing. I mean, we have to find out it's not on the agenda as such. That's where I wish we could have had some information. Should I call Rick Hopper if I know what's going on?
Probably should.
I'll see if I can get a hold of the engineer. Too many unknowns.
We're sitting empty.
Yeah.
No, Eric's on. He's over there sitting to see if he sees anybody go in there.
You talking about me?
Yeah, we're talking about you. You're there so you can see the auditor's door in case somebody goes in there, I would guess.
Yeah, yep. Just trying to keep everything under control, I guess.
Yeah. Well, luckily, it seems like it has been a very busy day then.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. That's about it.
Hello, Chris.
No, this is Terry and the supervisors.
Oh, okay.
How you doing, Rick?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we're a little confused today. We had it on our agenda to have Chris says to discuss with possible action DD 11 preliminary engineering report. Chris is sick today, so we're sitting here in the dark.
Oh, okay. I dropped off a draft copy of that with her last week, and I'd emailed her yesterday to ask how she wants to handle that, because I could email a copy, because I'd stamped draft on hers. What we usually do is I come with it and explain it, but she said it probably wouldn't be necessary. just a matter of taking action to set a preliminary hearing on the preliminary engineering report at least 40 days out. So,
Does this include the reclassification?
Not for 11, no.
I thought there was a reclass with that.
Let me look here.
Because Chris was telling me that there was laterals that were paying for repairs on the upper main, and unless she figured out otherwise.
Okay, because I have it written down as repair or improvement on DD 11, and then we need to finish the preliminary engineering report. We don't mention reclassification. I will look in the file though and see if there's any note of that.
Okay.
Because it's certainly something we can do, and if there's people paying that shouldn't be, it's obviously something that should be done.
That was a discussion I had with Chris, and she thought that there was people on lower laterals that were paying for upper repairs.
So when you had that meeting with the guys, was that their understanding that it was going to be reclassified?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think they identified it in their paperwork, but it was more of an internal thing Chris and I had talked about to make sure it was fair.
Okay. Well, it's certainly not a problem to get it reclassified, and the only expense we have at this point is the preliminary engineering report, which isn't a lot. So I mean, she could hang on to that until the reclassification was finalized as far as billing for it.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess I don't remember talking to her about reclassification, but like I said, I'll check the file and see how we wrote that work order up.
Is there much to this report that you've put together?
The big thing is it's terribly expensive. They have very little call available, so the pipe got big. The half-inch coefficient was over $700 an acre. And the 1 inch was just over $1,000 an acre. So it was a very expensive project. The indication I got from her was she thought it was expensive enough they may not go with the improvement, and they just try and get by. The disadvantage of that is that a portion of that district is only a 1/16th of an inch drainage coefficient. It's really pitiful, but very expensive to do a new system.
Okay.
I will plan to PDF the report to her so she has one that doesn't say draft on it, but that won't help you today, I guess.
Right.
No, and we don't need that today.
We're not going to action on it today.
Sure.
Do you think it'd be best if he came and explained those to us? I think it'd be good if you were here.
I like that, yeah. Doesn't have a lot of cost, and I can usually take care of some other things while I'm there, so it's, end up with maybe an hour or two to a project.
Maybe by then Chris will have identified whether we need to reclassify or not.
Good point. Yes, I like that point. So,
is next week okay for you or not?
I got a meeting with the old sailor board. Well, you know what? About 3 Tuesdays in a row I have something going on.
Okay.
Well, I can't believe it. Maybe I can have somebody else cover something else. So I'll have Chris and I talk about it and work it out to make it as soon as we can.
All right.
For scheduling. So
We'll just leave it at that then.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you, Rick.
Well, you bet. Thanks a lot. Bye.
So to answer your question, we're not sure yet.
Sounds like it ain't much fall at all. Well, they went through this, you surely got records where they done this a few years ago.
And it didn't sound like he put a lot of, he probably had those records to look at, in his engineering.
But I mean, they said it wouldn't work back then, that's why I'm surprised they're going out.
Well, the way you make it work is you make it bigger. It's almost to the point where you almost need to have a ditch going through there to get what you need to. I don't know, that's up to the engineer to determine that. It sounds like, the expense, if you wanted a 1 inch coefficient, you're gonna be $1,000 an acre. That's pretty
How
high.
big, how big that pipe's gotta be.
Yeah, it's gotta be pretty big.
It's 7 to 1,000.
Them landowners probably don't know that either, though.
Well, he's been in contact with the people that want this, you know, because he wants to know what they want, and so I'm guessing somebody knows it. Because he has their contact information. But that's kind of between them and him, and, you know, we're not gonna force anything on anybody, it's up to them to make that decision.
Well, in other words, there's nothing they can do till he has.
The only thing we can't stop is the repair, if they decide to repair. And that's something that we're mandated by state code that says you shall maintain, so. But if they're gonna do an improvement or whatever, it's.
Looks to me, a lot of it needs to be put in CRP up there. It's all flat ground anyway, and all.
Just for the record, that Gerald Ruby was here to discuss this. So, yeah, to me, it looks like, at least for part of it, need to extend the ditch if they want to do some good. And they could almost do it right down that fence line of Tommy's there. That's where it kind of runs to far ways. That's a good idea.
Well, then now when's the next, when's it gonna be?
Chris and him are gonna talk to see what we can do here, 'cause I'd rather see him here.
Okay, well, we'll have to see what happens then.
I'll make sure Chris knows that you wanna.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks, Gerald.
Thank you. So the report?
Yeah, you too.
Right here for the
This is easy. Don't look at each other's passwords, but that's how you do the dual pay. I had to go down and figure that one out, because it bugged me. And there's your password.
How do I get on?
Oh, you don't? Okay, I'll get you that too, Mike.
I've never been on.
Have you ever been on?
Huh? I don't think so,
Okay,
I always go to the one that everybody goes to.
all right. Well, no,
I should try to.
I think you would like it, gentlemen, so.
You could make it idiot proof, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, wow, he is probably about my age, that's funny.
It's pretty limited what you can do online.
Can you give this?
Evidently old.
Yes, can you give them the pictometry link,
Yeah.
the Connect?
What is that?
The Connect Explorer or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, just this?
Yeah.
Sure. Just email it to them?
Yeah, you wanna email it to them, and then they can just click right on it, and we'll have it done. Perfect, thank you. Well, he's sending you guys a link, so all you gotta do is click on it, and then you can add it to your favorites or do. But there is a little box after you type in your passwords. Remember me? Nice option.
Okay.
Really nice option. Thanks,
It
sir.
just gets confusing if I do that on my computer at home, and then try to do it on my tablet. It will say, do you want to close the other application?
Yeah, it will kick you out if you're on 2. And I did pull it up. We have 49 seats currently.
So we're okay for now.
We're perfect. Yep, we're in good shape.
Right, you can take mine away if you need one, so.
We can solve it by other ways.
Okay.
I do think it'd be nice for you guys to have it if,
Right.
Especially, in-house here.
Since we're paying the bills, I think we should each have a seat. But, like if it comes down to it, if the city wants more seats, they should share.
Yeah, they're gonna have to share, yeah. And I like Treasurer's Office, I bet they have never been on it. So I think we gotta,
No need to.
clean up the herd and see who's using it and who's not. But if there's a chance you'll use it, I think it would be nice if all 3 of you had access to it, for sure.
Good. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Quarterly report.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's quarterly report.
I'll second it. Motion made by Terry, seconded by Bill, to approve the sheriff's quarterly report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Assuming there'd be no open forum, one here, semi-monthly county clerks.
So we don't have anything for open forum then?
I think wasn't there a manure thing there? Oh, no.
That's
Idiot. Idiots would be
19 dash
what you stand. Well, it's, locations at the acres.
That's where the manure plant goes. This is where the site is right there. Okay, that's the site.
So,
Good. Now. Just one signature on that.
yeah.
Semi-monthly claims. Here, stand. Julie still out, maybe? Okay. You can stamp those and I'll sign them.
Okay.
Thank you. was a marathon runner in California, I think. Contacted it, 2 days later, she was dead.
Really?
And she was,
I would think she'd have a week in the pistol. Now they had a thing on about the flu shot, and they were talking about how 37 people had died from the flu. I told Billy, I just figure that out as a percentage of our population. It's not very many.
Cypher.
Yeah.
Jethro Bodine could do it.
Yeah, he could move the knots.
Set up a computer station. I don't think I want to do that on my phone. Anyway, I'm seeing it up. My screen can't do that.
The screen or the screensaver?
Both. With the screen, it's just, there's all kinds of cracks. And
Oh, it's got cracks and stuff.
I'm only 5 months away from that contract and switch companies. I might go to wireless system.
What do you got now?
Verizon. They're just pricing them so well. Plus their coverage is getting worse.
Yeah, the cellular just coverage is getting us, so it's just terrible.
I think in Minnesota I do better than I do down here. But they're rural areas, they're just not concentrated.
No, it's not where the
That's
most
where I think our wireless would do better.
Except for Nova Ellen's line after's dip there by, that's where I go out, in Cleveland I go out.
Oh, Verizon goes out there too.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. I've been talking by the DD1 ditch there. Yeah, I've lost it.
The US cellular rate is terrible.
Yeah.
And I called them once, I had a good enough signal to call them, and they said, you can't get a signal. I'm in my home roaming area and I can't get a signal.
I think
And this is what, the lady goes, well, you must be too far from the tower. I says, no, I can see the flashing red light of the new tower you built on off of it.
Well, and I think our wireless said they don't have very good coverage of that.
No.
But struggle.
Now nobody wants to invest money in a tower in a place where there's so many
Population
people.
isn't high enough out there.
But if you could see the flashing red light on the tower in Buffalo, you think you'd be able to do something.
I've noticed down towards Ames, I used to have a problem down there. Now there's new towers like all the way around Ames because of the big events they have.
Oh, I suppose it's a little long.
I checked with Carla, and she said Chris probably hasn't
Oh,
Process.
because she,
that's it, last year.
so she said there's a check with them next week.
Probably just pay the bills and prove. Well, so, yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, Chris has been gone.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we didn't get.
and I tried to call Chris this morning, and she said, I'll call you, and she said, we'll just have to do it next week.
Do it what, next week?
Yeah.
All right. That'll be it.
Probably end up doing 2 weeks in a row. No, this will be one of those months where 2 weeks, I'll skip the weekend. So it'll work out.
Sounds good.
We're staying adjourned, but.
What?
Staying adjourned.
Yes.
So, Eric, shut that off.
What I understand, all you gotta do is close the computer. Thought I did that once.
Right, better.
Officially,
Yeah. It's kind of like when I press